Excellent stuff. Now we're going to cross over for the moment to the second event of the morning, which is the men's discus. It's the F57 final, and we're watching Nathan Stevens, who's had quite a successful week so far. There's 4 in this. Gold, silver and bronze up for grabs. Stevens with a season's best of 34-34. He's up against Yanis Rakitsky, Yaroslav Petrus and the Russian Alexei Ashapatov, who's already had a very successful week in the fields. Ashapatov having won gold in the shot put, ahead of Yanis Rakitsky, who's also in this. So 26.08, he's the first to go, so obviously gives him an opening. Ashapatov also won the gold medal in the javelin here, looking for the clean sweep, and Stevens aiming to deny him that. So we'll follow his second attempt here in this F57. Red flag, he dropped it. It happens.
Yeah, no throw, it drops it.
Just as well there weren't any cameras there to witness it. That was a bit unfortunate. Well, at least he can see the funny side of it. He still has 4 more attempts in order to try and get out beyond 30 meters and set a very good standard today. Of the 4 in this final, he is ranked in 4th place in terms of the season's best. But Stevens with a prime opportunity. One of the Welsh favourites here have been so well supported during these games, and he's launched a good one out again towards 30 meters. Former world record holder. Also in the javelin speciality. Well, it is mainly a morning of fields here. We have 3 track finals, which we've already had a look at visually. 2 1500 meters finals, the women's T20 and the men's T38. And we'll have a chat about those a little later in the men's 400 meters T11. Stevens, 24-26, disimprovement from his best. But in terms of those Commonwealth Games, from your point of view, Fanny, it was your main event of the year, the main championship to aim at, and it seemed to all go quite well in the end.
Yeah, it was a long season. You know, with Commonwealth coming up, and we had 3 South Africans in the final in our race. So, yeah, had a good time, and yeah, it was a bit windy on the day. So didn't run the times that I would have liked to, but really pleased with the gold medal.
But championships, I guess, especially like this one, including this one in the Commonwealth Games, it's about medals in the end, and you get to beat everyone in the end, so you get to be Commonwealth champion.
Yeah, it was the first Commonwealth for me. Yeah, just really awesome to be part of the Commonwealth, where it was only the T37 100-meter men race of all the 100-meter races that could have been chosen. Yeah, so really fortunate for us to be in the Commonwealth.
Well, Nathan Stevens has produced his best throw so far, 28.99, which gives him a chance of a medal. Remember that 2 of the men in this have won medals so far at this European Championships.
Saturday morning here for the 5th and final day of competition. The crowds are milling in. I'm making my way over to the stands to meet one of our youngest supporters. Hello, Phoenix.
So it's his penultimate attempt and an opportunity maybe to get beyond 30 meters, and he's done that as well. It's a very good throw from Stevens, and that gives him a strong opportunity of potentially getting a medal. It depends what the others do Jaroslav Petrius, who comes later, is his season's best just under 40, but his personal best is over 50. And Ashipatov, who's going for his 3rd gold medal of the week. Shot put and javelin he's already claimed as a lifetime best of over 60 meters. So Stevens is pretty much right now doing all he can to try and keep himself at the top of the pile for as long as possible. Always awkward in events like this when you're the first to throw, because as soon as you're done, that's it. Everybody else gets a chance to take you down. 30 meters 10, and that is his best of the day so far.
Nick, and what have you made of the competition? Very much in the early stages.
So one more attempt for Stevens before the rest get their chance to overtake.
Hello Adam, where are you from?
Well, it's been good, consistent throwing so far. And that is definitely his best. That's superb. Well over 30. And that really sets the standard for Stevens now. Would you feel that there was a bit of an advantage for the British athletes having a Commonwealth Games this year? There would only have been, 3 or 4 European nations, Cyprus, Malta, who also would have been involved in that. So a major championship to aim for ahead of these Europeans?
Well, I think it's rather difficult to have both so big events just after each other. Reece Jones, that's one of my competitors in the T37. Like what he just said was, he couldn't really relax after Cornwall. He had to really get on and focus again for the European champs. So yeah, it's rather difficult, I would say.
Now we're heading back to the Discus and Janusz Rosicki of Poland. And this is one of the events where everybody gets 6 throws at once, and it is a one-category event, so it's distance. 32-26, Nathan Stevens holds the lead at the moment. Has that been maintained? Well, I think that's beyond 30 meters. It was a very strong throw from the pole. Rokicki has already medalled this week, and it looks like he will again. He's overtaken Stevens. It guarantees at least bronze. 34.52 gives Rokicki the lead and puts him into a very solid situation. A reminder that it's a relatively sedate track program later today. The women's 1500 meters final at T20, the men's 1500 at T38, and the men's 400 meters at T11. And that's a brilliant one. Well, that knocked the 40-meter sign, and it's a red flag, unfortunately. It was a brilliant throw. It went a long way out, heading towards his season's best of 41.98, but it bounced off the 40-meter marker and it went beyond the sector, and that's it, red flag. Bit unfortunate. We saw something like that in Zurich, actually, but it was in the javelin, which managed to get speared. It just bounced off the top of it. It was a fantastic throw, and that would have been a very strong lead and a great opportunity of gaining the gold. So a foul with his second round throw. But Rokicki has already set a great standard today, and well, I guess he'll be wanting this to get out towards 40 again, a bit straighter. Oh, that's brilliant. It's beyond 40. And he's done very well indeed. And I'll remind you, we'll see Ashipatov later, who in his life has thrown 60. They've only marked out to 40 here. If he gets it any further out, it'll be heading towards our cameras, which are well beyond the 40-meter line. But that was an excellent throw. And it's a brilliant lead that Rokicki is opening up now. And Stevens has had his 6 throws, and he finished with a peak of 32.26, but Rokicki has gone well beyond that now. Still waiting for the final measurement, but it is beyond 40, which the previous one threatened to be until it bounced off the marker and went out. And Rakicki is ready for his fourth throw, but the third measurement yet to come in. 40.76, and that's a very healthy advantage for this much-medalled pole. Well, it means he can take a quick break between the three throws as well. Well, it took a bit of time to measure. He's already had his break. So here's the fourth row. Can he do the same again? He can, you know. Beyond 40 meters, he's having a good time of this. And that might just be a little bit further. Well, these European championships building up to next year's Worlds in Doha, Fanny, and well, I mean, that's another major prospect for all the athletes, and I guess the next big thing to aim for now.
Really looking forward to Doha, and a lot of the athletes I've seen here has been asking about it. So yeah, it's head down and looking forward to a long training season. It's only going to be taking place in November. Yeah, and I think the big thing is to plan your season and to peak at the right time.
Well, 41.11 by Rakicki, that went out a long way. And here's his penultimate throw to try and extend his lead even further. Still two to come after this. It's another monstrous effort, but it is wide, and it's a red flag. Well, that would have been about 42 meters and increased the advantage even more. Well, he's putting a lot of strength into it, but the accuracy, the more he puts into it, wavering a little bit. So there's two that have gone out in that section to his left-hand side, and he's got one more to go. 41.11 maintains his lead. Rakicki absolutely doing brilliantly for the moment. And this his sixth and final attempt. And that is beyond 40 meters again. It'll be close to his 41.11 from round 4, but it's a red flag that's been given, so there must have been a bit of lifting. But if that fifth one had gone through, he'd have surely added at least a meter or two to it. He has done very well indeed. Climate gets quite warm in South Africa, doesn't it? So I'd imagine Doha shouldn't be too much out of the ordinary. But then you see, where we're from, everywhere is warmer than here, so.
Yeah, I think a lot of the European and British athletes come during the summertime to come and train that side. So yeah, it's lovely to train there in the summertime. We like to come here when it's our winter, so it's a good swap.
Works quite well. So here are things so far in the discus. Ashipatov and Petrus yet to throw. That's why no mark registered against the Rakicki leads, 41.11. Stevens at 32.26, but that longest throw by Rakicki, had it not gone out, was surely looking like 43. Well, we're crossing back to the men's discus, which is one of two field events on at the moment. We've seen Janis Rakicki launch one out to 41.11. Nathan Stevens to 32.26. So we're seeing Jaroslav Petrus of the Czech Republic. He is, on his day, a 51-meter thrower. Season's best of 39, which is well in advance of the 32 that Nathan Stevens has been able to launch out to. And already he's been able to knock one out to around 35 meters, which for a practice throw is good. Is there much crossover between track and field in terms of the athletes? If you're a dedicated track athlete, would you show much interest naturally in the field and vice versa?
I think most athletes that does track will maybe do long jump with that, but there's not a lot of athletes that will do like discus and be a sprinter. You won't get that quite often, but we do support each other. But it's different talents, different abilities. And I'm looking forward to see some South African athletes at Birmingham. Arno Fourie and Hilton Langenhoven will be taking part that side.
In terms of the IPC program at the Commonwealth Games, in the athletics, it was somewhat limited to a handful of events. I think it was 6 or 8. You were one of the fortunate ones who was able to compete.
Yes, no. Like I said, it's really been great to be part of that, you know, and yeah, I think yeah, with a lot of South Africans being part of our race, it's been so much fun. I remember after the race we had a victory lap, and we all of us just went around the track, even though Andrea didn't medal. Yeah, it was great fun.
Great athletics community in South Africa as well. I mean, on the IAAF and the IPC circuits, you do generally tend to do quite well.
Yeah, this year we spent most of our time in Italy, Gemona, where it's kind of a home away from home. Had a Grand Prix in Grosseto. We had one in Switzerland, and then the last one was in Berlin in Germany.
In terms of this discus, Petrus is still getting fully ready for his first throws of 6 in the competition. I mean, the main long-term focus for everybody right now is Rio in 2 years' time, and I think it's something about 740 days to go. Have you had a chance to assess any of the stadiums or even just study what's likely to lie ahead for you?
The closest I've been to Rio was Sao Paulo this year. We had a Grand Prix that side. So no, I haven't really been able to do that, except from watching a bit of soccer or football. The World Cup, that was, you know, I think it's also for Brazil a really advancement to have both the World Cup and the Olympics coming up in a few years' time.
Well, that was a super throw by Petrus, his first of the competition, and it will put him up into the silver medal position. It's certainly beyond Nathan Stevens' 32 meters attempt. It didn't reach 40. So we'll certainly put him up into second place of the 4. And Stevens will know, with Ashapatov coming up shortly, that very soon he will be knocked out of the medals. And it's one of the best things about going first is you can, if you set a high enough standard, you can sit back and relax and almost enjoy the rest trying to have a go and failing to catch you up. But if you look at the ratings and see that everybody's thrown further than you this year and you go first, there is, I think, an element of inevitability about how things are turning out for Stevens. So Petrus going out to 36.49 with his opening throw. This will be his second of the competition.
Having a relax now, so we're away over to the VIP area with some of the other volunteers, Mike and Rick. Good morning to you, Mike.
39.79 has been the limit of his ambitions so far this year, but it would be a great stage in which to go beyond 40 for the first time. But that won't be it, as that just about hit 30, and I think actually went wide anyway. Red flag it is, so no joy for him. And that goes down as a foul.
Are you local? Yes. So why did you feel that you wanted to volunteer your time to the championships?
Well, the first throw had gone out and been measured at around 36, 37 meters, but it's now actually showing up in a system as that was a foul as well. The second throw certainly was, and his first one has come up as a foul too. So at the moment, Petrus doesn't seem to have had a registered throw. So he's going to have to crank something out quite serious here. 32.26 of Stevens to beat. It's not unprecedented for things to go badly wrong for throwers when they've had a couple of fouls very early on. Something conservative will certainly get him on the medals board, and that is it. It's just beyond 35 meters. It's shy of 40. But Petrus, a deep breath, and even something at about 70% standard will be enough to get him onto the medal standings here. Well, it was a good throw out. The information would have been relayed to him by the officials that the first throw had an X against it. And that was around 36.5. This one, in round 3, puts him into second on the board. It's 34.5. It's 34 meters 60, and he lies in second place. And as you can see, that first round throw has gone down as a foul. It was measured, did originally come up as 36 meters, but has now gone down as a red X. But he's on the board anyway, 34 meters 60. So in terms of Rio, in Parasport and in IPC athletics, they've been fantastically successful in the T11, T12 events, and we're pretty sure that's going to be used a lot in Brazil to promote the games. They've won a huge amount of golds in those categories. I mean, the big hope, obviously, is that Rio will be as big as London and as successful and as well attended.
Yeah, I do think, you know, with the Parasports after London and Beijing, that it's really been progressing a lot. I believe in big parts it's still a growing sport. So, yeah, my opinion is that it would just be bigger and better than London. Yeah, after the Beijing Games, I really had doubts of if London would really be as great as Beijing, but it was bigger and better, and I believe so for Rio as well.
Well, Beijing was fabulous to see, and I mean, I was there myself. They put incredible resources into it. London did it differently,
Yes.
but with the crowds, it ended up being just as big, which was very welcome. But I mean, it must be gratifying. I remember reading an interview with David Weir a couple of weeks ago heading into the Commonwealth Games, where he and so many athletes had such a bad experience in Atlanta because it was seen by the local organizers pretty much as being just a side event, a small attraction after the Olympic Games. I think a lot of people had got quite disillusioned with it, but Sydney then had done such a great effort with the Paralympic Games there that, as well as a very successful Olympic Games, that it seemed to breathe a lot of life back into the four-year festival again. So, I mean, it must be gratifying that the last two Paralympic Games have been, you know, really huge events, full stadiums, and great sport.
Yeah, I can really just say that's the thing. I really believe it's growing, and you know, people are getting more aware of athletes competing and yeah, supporting it. As you can see, there's a few people in the stadium as well today, but I would have loved seeing a bit of a more spectator crowd this side. Yeah.
It's been a nice crowd here this week. I mean, the fire grandstand has had a couple of hundred in it per session. The main grandstand here has actually been largely full, which is very gratifying to see. It's an athletics problem, though, isn't it? Because, I mean, I work a lot on the IAAF circuit as well as the IPC and various, we'll say, Grand Prix meetings that are on in Ireland. And, I mean, we're not talking about Diamond League, and we're not even talking, we'll say, events that are the same size as Berlin or Ostrava. But a lot of the time, athletics fans just don't want to be on the back straight. They prefer to be in the closing straight because they see the 100 meters and they see the conclusion of all the races right in front of them. I guess it's an athletics problem. But then if you've got big events like, you know, the EAA European Championships you had last week in Zurich, because everybody wants to go and you're selling 25,000 tickets a session, every seat's going to be full. But I think definitely it's it's one of those quirks of athletics.
Yeah, I think for them sitting in at that side, you know, they do have a better view of the discus going on that side, and you know, also for the discus throwers, they need that support as well. And yeah, but a full crowd is always nice to have.
Well, in terms of the Paralympic Games nowadays, I mean, you are pretty much going to get a full stadium for the athletics events, for a lot of different events across different sports, while the 2 weeks or thereabouts of the Paralympic Games are on. Probably the next step is to have the crowds growing for the Grand Prix events and events like the World Championships and the European Championships as well, I guess.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job this year with Grand Prix events, the circuits being in different parts of the world. Although, yeah, as an athlete, you might not be able to go to all of them. It's really been a great thing for parasports, bringing in the Grand Prix events, and especially having a few in Middle Europe. It helps a lot to be able to go to all of them and, yeah, get a good rhythm going. Because that's one thing that as an athlete we yeah, competing on a regular basis is quite hard. We don't get that often, but it's yeah, with the Grand Prix they've done a good job.
Well, we've seen Petrus go to 34.72 in this competition. It's second place behind Rakicki, and like the Polish leader, he may well feel that he could have produced a little bit better today. Alexei Ashabatov will be the last to throw in this men's discus, and in his career he's been a 60-meter thrower. 42.55 is season's best, and if he can replicate that today, then that would be the gold medal. But watch this space. Men's discus will conclude very shortly indeed. But do you find, in terms of the IPC Grand Prix events, I mean, the crowds are certainly growing, and there's just more of an awareness of parasports and athletics and the IPC circuit in general these days?
Yeah, it's good to see that you know, the crowds are getting bigger, and you know, to see more of the athletes competing on a regular basis. You know, and I think for building relationships with other athletes, other countries, it's helpful, because you stay in the same hotels, you eat at the same restaurant, so it's definitely a relationship builder between countries as well.
Now Petrus has his final throw coming up. So 34.72. He's only actually had 2 registered marks out of 5 so far. 34.60, 34.72 in rounds 3 and 4. So can he finish off on a high, get it closer towards 40 meters? It's 41.11 is the ultimate target. He's got that a long way out. That's around 38 meters. That is certainly his best throw of the day. And had he managed to get out even a season's best, he wouldn't have been able to overtake Rakicki. But he got it out as far to 40 as he could. It was a really good effort. And the man who won silver in the shot put has got a good chance of finishing high up here. He hasn't caught Rakicki. You imagine Ashabatov should be able to register at least 1 throw over 40 meters. So it looks at best it will be bronze for him today. That is his best. It's 36.65, and he right now is in second place.
Coming up on screen now, this is the final standings in the men's. This is F57. The gold has won Russia. Actually, it was not for the 42